What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Danny Sylvan Blog. As you can see from the title of this video, today I will be discussing my brand new diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. Brand new as in, I guess by the time this video releases, it would have been just under 2 months that I've had this diagnosis, so it is very fresh. Before we even get into the video, do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because this video today is going to be a bit of a story time, but also hopefully educational and informative for those of you who may not know exactly what diabetes is or exactly how it works, because honestly I didn't know much before I was diagnosed with it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so let's first go back all the way to 2017. In 2017, I went to my family doctor at the time for a general physical checkup, and she told me that I was on my way to becoming what's called pre-diabetic. Now, pre-diabetic is basically when the blood sugar levels in your body are at a higher level than what they typically should be. It wasn't as high to be alarming, but it was on its way there. So what my doctor was saying was, you're on your way to becoming pre-diabetic, and one of the things that will definitely help you and prevent you from actually becoming diabetic is having a better eating habit moving forward. So in 2017, when she said that, I was like, okay, well then what do I do? And she suggested that I go on a diet. So she put me on a diet plan. And here's the thing about diet plans that I have an issue with. It's that I find that diets are designed to be a temporary practice. So you hear all the time, 10-day juicing cleanse, or like 3-week diet plan, or 3-month diet plan. All of them have a start and end time. They're all temporary. This diet that I went on had 3 different, I guess what they called phases, and basically it was at the start really trimmed down everything. Like there was very little that I could have, couldn't have much starches, couldn't have carbs, you know. You start off strict, it was pretty much protein and vegetables, and even the vegetables were reduced as to what I can eat. And then they slowly start to implement in phase 2 more things that you can eat that would work with your new healthy diet plan. And then phase 3 you can have a bit more. And that's all great, and I did end up getting to phase 3, but I found, which I find with every diet that I've been on, and let me know if you have the similar experience, but I find that diets are not lifestyle changes. And I find that if you want to have a better, healthier lifestyle when it comes to eating, you have to change your whole lifestyle. You can't be on a fixed term diet. Basically, the diets become unrealistic to be on every single day for the rest of your life. Whereas there are definitely lifestyle changes that you can implement into your diet that will help you in the long run, and that will be easier to maintain in the long run. Needless to say, long story short, it was not realistic for me long term, so I kind of slowly got off of it. I did take some of the tools that they taught me over the 3-phase diet plan, but a lot of it I was like, I'm not gonna do this in my everyday life. This isn't realistic for me, you know? After that, I didn't really think much about it. I was like, okay, I guess hopefully I have, you know, dodged any potential of me getting pre-diabetes, whatever that means, because unfortunately I wasn't really explained at the time what that even means. So, sorry y'all, I had to switch my camera. The battery was dying, so now I'm recording on my phone and really hoping that the video quality doesn't look too different. Okay, so now we're in 2020, and in the summer of 2020, got a job for a liquor store that we have here in the province in which I live, in the country in which I live, which is Canada. So I got the summer job there. Everything was great. You know, I did find that I would indulge, in hindsight, maybe a bit too much in alcoholic beverages. Now, I wasn't like downing a 2-6, you know, every night, but I might have like a cooler on Tuesday and then like a beer on Wednesday, and you know, but I don't drink much. So that was kind of a lot of alcohol coming into my system at once for my body, just because at this point in my life, I'm not used to drinking that much. And for those of you who know, and hopefully you know, alcohol does contain a lot of sugar. So anyway, about August into this contract that I have with this liquor store, I noticed some changes in my body. I found that all of a sudden I was urinating much more frequently than I usually do. Pretty much every 30 minutes of the day, I was running to the washroom. I also found that I was extremely thirsty. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I need to do is have something to drink. Throughout the day, I'm like thirsty, and the summer here where I live this summer was actually quite hot. So in my mind, I was like, well, maybe I'm just really dehydrated, because it's quite a bit of a commute to get to where I was working, and then, you know, working, you know, sometimes 8-hour days and then coming back. It took a lot out of you. So I was like, I'm just dehydrated. That's why I need all this. But what was puzzling was, yes, I was definitely craving water, but also I was craving really sweet drinks like Orange Crush, Grape Crush, just like really, really sweet, sugary drinks. And I don't really crave sugary drinks, so that was a little strange to me. I also noticed that sometimes when I would get up, you know, from sitting down, I'd be a little lightheaded. It would only last for about 5 to 10 seconds. But again, that's usually not something that happens to me. I never really just feel off balance like that. So that was strange too. And I'm noticing all these things, but I'm finding excuses for them and thinking, oh, it's just, you know, the weather. It's just, you know, I'm really tired, or whatever the case may be. The final straw for me was when I woke up one day and I was just not feeling good. My whole body just felt drained and exhausted, and it didn't have much reason to feel that way. I was running late for work and I called an Uber to work, and on my way there, in the Uber, I'm feeling like extremely nauseous. And it's not like he's driving crazy. The Uber driver was driving fine. But I was feeling really, really nauseous while I was in there. And I'm the type of person where I don't just feel nauseous. Like, that's not something that is common to occur for me. So at that point, I knew something was wrong. And I got to work and basically was like, I can't work. I took a second when I got in though to go to the washroom, and for some reason, even on the car ride in the Uber, in my head kept saying, this has to do with 2017, what your doctor told you. This has to do with this pre-diabetic business. Like, this has something to do with it. It's connected. I don't know why my gut was telling me that, but that's what my gut was telling me. And I was like, let me just look up the symptoms of diabetes. I look up the symptoms of diabetes, and of course, to my not really surprise, every single thing that was listed as a symptom I was experiencing, except for maybe, I think there was one where it was like vomiting and diarrhea, but like the feeling dizzy was definitely one of them. Frequent urination, that was on there. Feeling thirsty, that was on there. Like nausea, that was on there. So all those things I was experiencing, I was like, damn, okay, so this would explain what's going on with me. I was scared because, again, it's not something that you know very much about. At least I didn't know very much about it. So the unknown is very scary. And I was like, I haven't gotten a diagnosis yet, but I'm scared to even go that route. Also keep in mind, this was in the thick of the coronavirus kind of being a thing still. Where I live in the summer, it had definitely calmed down, but it was still lurking in these streets, okay? So I was like, do I go to a walk-in clinic? Do I go to do I book an appointment with my doctor? Like, how do I deal with this? And one of my coworkers said to actually just call telehealth and see what they have to say. Telehealth is basically a phone service that connects you with nurses and doctors over the phone, and they can advise you on what to do when it comes to certain medical situations. I actually waited until the next day to call telehealth because I was so, I guess, nervous. I called telehealth. First, I spoke with a nurse, and the nurse kind of screened me for all of my symptoms and everything. And she said, okay, I think I have an idea what this might be, but I'm gonna set you up with an appointment with the doctor over the phone, and he will further direct you as to what you need to do. Once I spoke with the doctor, honestly, about 3 minutes into the phone conversation, he was like, okay, so what I'm gonna need you to do right now is I'm gonna need you to, once you get off the phone with me, go to the emergency room of a hospital right away. And I was like, emergency room? What do you mean emergency room? Hold up, wait a minute. He said, yeah, this sounds like a classic case of diabetes, he said, but your case actually sounds a little bit more extreme. So I just want you to go to a hospital. He's like, there's only so much I can do over the phone with you. I can't check your blood. I can't check your vitals. Like, they can do that at the emergency room. And keep in mind, this was a weekend. So it's not like I could have walked to a doctor's office or like walked to like a walk-in and just gotten that immediate help. He said an emergency room would be your best option. So that's what I did. I got to the emergency room of the hospital. I was there for first I got in there, they checked my vitals, then they took some blood samples, and then I waited for like 2 hours, just kind of waiting for what they were gonna say. And they eventually came back and said, hey, so your blood sugar levels are, quote, through the roof. You are supposed to be between 4 and 10 as far as your blood sugar levels or your glucose levels. And right now you're sitting at 32. 32. That's really high. So he said, let your folks know that you need a change of clothes and that they should bring you something to eat because you're probably gonna be here for a little while. That was scary. That was definitely scary. And I kind of didn't know what to say. I called my parents and told my siblings kind of what was going on. And my parents did bring me a meal and a change of clothes, and I stayed for a total of 3 days in the hospital. The whole purpose of me staying at the hospital was so that they can bring that number of 32 as low as they possibly can and as quick of an amount of time as they possibly can. When I got in there, it was 32, and by the time I left on day 3, it was at about 15. So while I was in the hospital, basically what they did to get my blood sugar level down was pump me with insulin. They also had me on an IV, but insulin was what I was getting. Bags and bags of insulin. I'll explain what insulin does to somebody who's diabetic and how it helps them in a minute, so hold on. Once I had left the hospital, I was given all the medication that I needed as far as like the insulin, like I said, and a few other different drugs that they prescribe to those who are diabetic. At this time, they still hadn't actually officially diagnosed me as being diabetic. They just knew that all of my symptoms were traced along that, and they needed to do some further blood tests and whatnot to come to a conclusive decision that this is type 2 diabetes. And I'll explain the difference between type 1 and type 2 in a minute as well. At home, I felt strange. My body just felt not like itself anymore. And of course, it didn't feel like itself in pretty much all of the month of August when I really started to experience these symptoms. But this was just a whole different kind of feeling. I felt like the insulin that I was taking would make matters worse. I felt like I was eating what they told me to eat, but it wasn't really doing what it was supposed to do for my body. And the most scary thing that I experienced upon returning home from the hospital was blurry vision. I was experiencing all of these things and was extremely confused and quite honestly terrified at what I was experiencing. And not about exactly a week after I had left the hospital the first time, my blood sugar level actually went to the exact opposite scale of what it was before it was too high, and it got to being too low. It got as low as 2.7. So that was alarmingly low, and unfortunately, I had to return to the hospital because what else can you do? So I went to the hospital for a second time, and I was checked in for a whole other 3 days. And over that 3 days, they really just needed to monitor my blood sugar levels and make sure that they were stable within the appropriate range that they're supposed to be. Ultimately, what ended up happening, why it got so low, was that the insulin prescription, the dosage that I was prescribed, was actually too high. So it was doing a bit too much to get me to a point where I was being low on the scale of the glucose blood sugar level. Once they stabilized me, I was discharged from the hospital again and sent home again, this time feeling a lot better, having a new dosage of my insulin. And that's kind of what kickstarted my journey of being a diabetic. At that point, they did officially diagnose me with having type 2 diabetes. Now you guys are probably wondering what a lot of these terms mean: glucose, blood sugar levels, type 1, type 2 diabetes. What is diabetes? So I'm gonna go into a bit of that right now. Diabetes is a chronic illness that basically affects how the sugar in your blood is broken down. When you have diabetes, the sugar in your blood is not being broken down fast and efficiently that the normal body should be breaking it down. This can result in having too high of a blood sugar level. Here's the way that I've explained it to myself after hearing doctors and nurses explain it to me that makes sense for me. I don't know if this is medically correct, but this is what makes sense to me. Look at the cells in your blood, the natural hormones in your blood, as being an army. So there is this thing called insulin that is naturally in your blood that helps you break down the blood sugar. So let's say the insulin army, the natural hormone in your blood that breaks down the blood sugar, is an army, and the sugar is what it needs to attack. So you've got your insulin here and you've got the sugar in your blood here. They're both in your blood. The sugar's coming through your blood, and the insulin is supposed to break that sugar down. But when you have diabetes, the sugar's coming in your blood and you've got some men that are down, okay? This army is not fully equipped to handle the sugar that is coming its way. So instead of it breaking it down and naturally flowing nice and evenly in your blood, it is going in and no insulin's fighting it. So your level of sugar in your blood is higher than it should be. That's what diabetes essentially is. The reason that doctors prescribe insulin for people who are diabetic is because it's what's naturally created in your body, but you need a little bit of an extra boost to help that army. So basically, it's like calling another country to come help your country fight the battle. Okay, so the insulin that you inject yourself with is what helps you and your army of insulin inside your body that you naturally create fight the sugar that's coming into your blood. Now, sugar isn't everything. Let's just make that clear. Sugar is in bread, all carbs, sugar's in meat, sugar is in vegetables, fruits, sugar's in everything. So you can't starve yourself, but you just have to know how to maintain what you're eating, and the insulin definitely does help to break down the sugar. I don't know, admittedly, a whole lot about the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes other than this. Type 1 diabetes is something that people usually get that they're either born with or they get at a younger age. Basically, when you have type 1, you're pretty much going to have to take insulin for the rest of your life. It's a little bit more severe out of the two types, and you have to really, really monitor daily what you're taking in and putting into your body, and monitor your blood sugar levels a little bit more intensely than you would if you were type 2. If you're type 2, like I am, you can eventually get off the insulin. Your body can eventually regulate your blood sugar level in response to the insulin that's produced in your body. And you can live a bit more of a life less dependent on heavily relying on and analyzing how your body is responding to the diabetes. That's the best way I could describe it, I think. Diabetes is not a death sentence. It's not something that is guaranteed to kill you. It's not like you have it and life is over. Having said that, though, you do have to be very, very stern in how you maintain it. I know people, relatives, and friends who have diabetes and who've had it for years, and I would never have known. I would have had no idea that that's something that they've been living with all this time, because it really doesn't have to rule your entire life. You just have to make cautious decisions and a strong effort in maintaining it. And maintaining it basically really comes down to changing your eating habits. That's mainly it. Changing your eating habits, going to your doctor's appointments, taking the prescribed medication. But even with insulin, over time, there can come a point where you don't need it, where your body has gotten to a point where it's regulated what it needs to produce, and you're not pumping in as much sugar as you did before. So it's like the army, the army is like, you know what? I think we got this. We don't need external insulin to help us fight the sugar and break it down. I think at this point, because you're not pumping so much sugar into our body anymore, I think we got this. So that's kind of how that works. If you're sitting there wondering, well, how do I maintain my eating habits when it comes to diabetes? How do I ensure that my blood sugar levels stay at a decent level? That's where this food Bible comes into play. This is the Glycemic Index Food Guide. This little thing right here. So the Glycemic Food Index Guide is basically a guide that helps you know what has high sugars, natural sugars in them, and what's a bit on the lower side, and what you want to implement into your diet and what you don't. Or I shouldn't say diet, what you should want to implement into your new lifestyle change as far as eating habits, and what you want to avoid. This has definitely helped me when it comes to my meals and when it comes to preparing my food. Some of the basics are just, try to make everything starchy or carbs, try to make it brown. So brown toast, brown rice or whole wheat rice, whole grain noodles. If you're having a burger, maybe get a whole wheat burger bun, things like that. Fiber is a huge thing that you want to include. So I'm not gonna go through all of that in this video, but when you get a chance, look up the glycemic index food guide, and that will definitely help you along your journey. By the way, there's a lot of great resources that you can find on Diabetes Canada. And if you're a US viewer or anywhere else, look up your diabetes, national information center. Usually there is one. That'll have a lot of information and resources for you. I am very happy, blessed, and proud to say that I'm doing a lot better as far as my diabetic journey. I feel like I've taken the time and educated myself a little bit on how this thing works. And one of the most important things to note, I should have mentioned this from the start, but one of the most important things to note if you are diabetic and to reassure yourself about is that diabetes works different in every single body. So what Aunt Helen or Uncle Frank, how their diabetes might have worked in their body and how over the years they said, oh, I can't have this and I can't have that. That'll make me, go into a diabetic coma. That might not be the case for you. So you have to really take time to analyze and learn and study your body and how your body reacts to diabetes. I was talking to an uncle of mine and he gave a perfect example. He said that, for him, a bowl of ice cream, a bowl of vanilla ice cream, he can eat that and he'll check his blood sugar level and it wouldn't really jump, it wouldn't really do anything to his blood sugar because the way that his specific body breaks down that specific thing, ice cream, it's different. However, if he were to have a bowl of plain rice, plain white rice, that would spike his numbers through the roof. So you kind of have to analyze your own body and see what causes things to go up in your blood sugar levels and what causes things to stay the same. Also, what causes things to go down. Out of the two, if your blood sugar level is higher than 4 to 10, definitely seek medical help. However, if your blood sugar level is lower than the 4 to 10, if it's at like what it was for me in my second hospital visit, if it's like a 2.7, that can become quite dangerous. So you definitely want to get medical treatment if that ever comes about. All right, I think that I've pretty much covered everything. That is my personal journey with type 2 diabetes, this very fresh diagnosis that I've been given. I hope that this video wasn't too all over the place. I kind of tried to map it out as best as I can. If you feel like there's anything I missed or any information that you want to know a little bit more about, be sure to let me know in the comments. I do want to end this by saying, if you have been recently diagnosed with diabetes, type 1 or type 2, know that you're not alone. Know that you can maintain and regulate this. It sucks, it really does, but it is not a death sentence as long as you maintain it and manage it and use some of the tools that I just explained in this video to help navigate your journey with diabetes. If you want more information, be sure to go to Diabetes Canada, and like I said, check out your own country's diabetes information center. There's usually one. And if you have any questions about my journey, be sure to let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I hope that this video has helped somebody out there with their own battle of diabetes. And be sure to give it a like as well. All right, friends, I hope that you have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time on Jenny Sylvan Vlog. Bye.